Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure. So, ni 2009, it's 2009. I'm in boarding school, I'm in high school, niko form 6 nadhani. Sijui siku hizi lakini boarding school zetu hizo ulikuwa na simu shuleni. Lakini ulikuwa unaruhusiwa na radio. Kwa hiyo boarding school fulani hivi wana ladha fulani hivi za kitofauti. So tuna radio na over the weekend una simu, una TV, una kuchat naye, una kuongea naye, unasikiliza sana muziki. And I remember kati ya vitu ambavyo nilikuwa kwenye ratiba yangu Jumapili nasikiliza top 20 ya Clouds. And so unajua uko nasikiza hizi kitu mara kwa mara, kuna namna fulani vitu fulani vinajirudia, kuna ladha zinajirudia, kuna nyimbo unaanza kweli hivi mshikaji kweli bado yuko kwenye top 10 hadi leo, mbona kama sielewi au sababu niko boarding. And then one day I hear this song. So nilimind kinoma ilikuwa rudio. Kwa sababu you can't repeat this shit. But that song was wimbo wangu. And for me, I had an eargasm. It was fresh, it was different, and it was right in between. La, 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 la. And today, we have the singer-songwriter and creator of that song, wimbo wangu, Grace Matata. Karibu kwenye Msasa.
Thank you very much. That's welcome. A really nice intro.
Thank you. It changed some of us. It was really, really refreshing to hear something that different on radio at that time, especially because at any given point in time, there's usually a trend.
Yeah.
Usually kuna vitu fulani vinavyopendwa zaidi. Kwa unakuwa visikia sana zaidi. There's something called the Blue Ocean Strategy.
Ooh.
So a Blue Ocean Strategy is where when everybody is doing this, you make a completely different path of your own. And you do that so that you're not competing on the same wavelength. And you're differentiating yourself from the beginning.
Yeah.
And even when they try to copy, you do not give a fuck. That's a Blue Ocean Strategy. I remember that day, like yesterday. That was one of the days I was like, who doesn't give a fuck about the trend, but the song.
But it's
really
actually
nice.
quite interesting. Like, so one of the things that in my head, nikaona, okay, this is something very normal. But the moment you take it to people, I'm very mindful of what they're saying because oftentimes it's usually a reflection of what they're thinking and their reality and not really what you're going for or what you're trying to do.
It's like when somebody tells you can't do something, it usually means they can't do it. So
exactly. So and I was like, respectfully, thank you.
Yeah.
But this is what we're trying to do and we'll see how it works. Yeah. And I've taken that with me for all the time and it's really, really been helpful, honestly.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it even had a name. Like, thank you. The Blue Ocean Strategy, is it?
Yeah. So that's it's an approach. It's a thing that you do on purpose. And you can do it even more often if you wanted to. Yeah, it helps set you apart, kutofautisha from the beginning. And as a result of that, kusaidia wewe, for instance, from a business perspective, to build tribes. You build a tribe, then it becomes bigger until it becomes a nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the best way to build tribes is completely go away from what was expected.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. Yes, so that's also a blessing, unajua, kwa sababu sometimes what happens, if not sometimes, most times what happens is mtu ambaye anakuwa tofauti sana na wengine, anajikuta analazimika kujitenga, kwa sababu anashindwa kukutana na watu ambao wanamwelewa, wanamkubali, wanampokea, alafu wanampa your support.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that happen for you? Are these people you grew up with?
No, I mean, it's so I randomly ended up meeting those people. It was very random, like very random. I was working after high school. I was working at a place and I always used to sing. So I would do anything singing. At work. And one of the guys I was working with, Solomon, I remember his name. Shout out to Solomon. One of the guys I was working with kept telling me like, Grace, you have a really nice singing voice. You should, some friends of mine wamefungua a record label. So you should go see them. You should go see them. And I was like, yeah, I'll go see them. 6 months passed and I didn't go see them. So I think he just got tired of me. And then he just gave my number to the guys with the studio, and they just called me up one day and said, hey, we've been waiting for you for like a couple months. So when are you going to come through? So I was like, yeah, I'm going to come today. Like, I'll come through. So I went over, and I think, like I told you, we never really sat down and said, we are like-minded people and we are going to do this and we're going to take over the industry and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. I think they met me and they liked what I was doing, and they also had a vision for their thing. They came into the space and they were like, we want to build kind of like a new sound that people would be like open to experiencing. Like of course, it was not really a new sound, but like a new generation of musicians that we are trying to push into the market. And how that looked like, it didn't really matter because we ended up having a huge lineup of artists. I was signed around that time. Ben Paul was signed around that time. Nick Mbishi was signed around that time. One the Incredible. Stereo, exactly. So, it was gospel. I remember we had Christabella Combo back then. And it was just a mishmash. And for them, they were like, it's a new sound. Let's just be open to what these young people have to say. And I think from that mentality, it really worked for us. And I think over the years, surprisingly, it's not like I've ever met people and we were like, you know what, we're going to do different things and we're going to like not make the same kind of whatever is going on out there. No, it was like I would meet people with a vision that I felt like I gravitated towards. Nakutana na watu ambao that maybe wanatengeneza film and approach yao ya jinsi wanavyotengeneza film, philosophy yao behind wanavyotengeneza film. I just like it. And tunajikuta tu, we're just working together. And there's no really...
So it's an energy thing?
I think it's more of... and this is quite interesting. A lot of times nime end up working with people and it worked out very well. Tulivyokutana initially, it wasn't because they were like maybe famous people or they were doing something like cha tofauti sana. No, it's when we sat and we talked, our values kind of aligned. Like, even if it's not like one goal, you have your own thing, I have my own thing. But if our values align, tunajikuta tu, we are creating stuff and we are doing stuff kwa pamoja.
Have you ever been in an environment where you ended up doing work with someone and the values weren't aligning?
Yes, a couple times. And it was it was very challenging. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm going to say it's very challenging because I think one of the skills that you also have to pick up, and I keep telling this to young people,
Younger people.
Younger people.
You're young too.
Oh my God, I feel old. Oh my God, I really do feel old.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you why I feel old. I keep meeting people and everybody's like, when I was in high school, I was listening to your music. I was like, oh my God, how old am I?
But you were a kid too, Najua.
I know. Yeah. I made my first album when I was 17, 18.
So, we were all in high school.
It just feels like...
Uko chuo wanzoni. Anyway.
I know. But when people say it, I just realized the album turned 10 years last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's been 10 years. How is that 10 years? You know, I still remember the first time I heard the first song we put on radio.
Yeah.
And it was just that Saturday morning. It's not like 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So, oh my God, where was I? I digress.
Working with people, different values.
Yeah, I have worked with people with different values. I keep telling younger people, it's the space that we are in, the creative space.
Yeah.
Being the creative space, unfortunately, we creatives are very attached to their work.
To the work, yeah.
The work is very personal. Like, you know, doctors would cut open a patient and do whatever they need to do. If mambo yakienda vibaya, well, Mungu alimpenda zaidi. But artists are the only people in creatives.
Doctors.
I'm not disrespecting doctors, but I think they have like, a lot of other professions. You have a way of separating who you are and what you do, you know? But I think creative work is the one career path ambayo you are your work.
Yeah, you identify with it.
Exactly, you're connected to it. If something is good, you did a good thing. If
Which
something
is why for some, like, feedback is really difficult.
Exactly, and for some, criticism is something very hard to take. And for you to put out your work, sometimes you agonize over it. You want to make sure it's perfect because you feel like that is a representation of who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And because we are very personal with what we do, if you're not careful working in the space, you will not survive.
Yeah.
Because if you take every experience that you go through in the space, it becomes a personal experience. You're not going to work with half the industry by the time you're starting.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've carried with me for a very long time. And I tell people, it's a gig. You're probably going to be here for one night. It's a difficult person you're working with right now, but this venue owner you're probably going to work with them for the next 3 hours, and you probably won't have to see them for the rest of your life, you know? You are going to work with, maybe a couple of months.
Depends on the venue.
Depends on the venue.
Depends on the venue. Uh-huh.
But you just gotta be able to understand that not all experiences you're going to have are going to be positive experiences. Some of them are going to be not the kind of experiences you are having.
Yeah.
But don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Keep it moving and cherish the ones which are good and learn from the ones which are not. And make sure you never run into them the next time. If you have a choice, just don't go back there.
Okay.
But I've worked with, I've tried to really, when I meet people and I'm trying to decide if I want to work with them or not, honestly, how they approach work and the way that the philosophy behind their work really determines how far I'm willing to go with them. You know, like I've met people who didn't have money to do something, but because they have such a spirit behind what they're doing, and I love the philosophy that they had behind their work, I'll be like, you know what, I'll make it work for you because I feel like your passion towards this is, and I've met people with a lot of money and they want to work with you and you're like, I'm going to take the money. I'm going to do this.
And then I'm out.
But I hope I never see you again.
Yeah.
So you just learn how to swim in like rough waters.
So basically have values, but also
figure out how to compromise, but not too much.
Okay.
Not compromise, but figure out how to not let it affect you too much.
Right.
If the work can get done without you, without that affecting the work, handle the work.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
It's not that deep.
Okay, is this something you knew from day one?
No.
Okay.
It took me a very long time to learn it. There are some people I never spoke to for a very long time. Yeah, because I felt like I was wronged.
I have a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean, I used to nurse my grudges. I used to take them out at night and look at them and like think about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. Maybe.
But then later I was like, you know, it's just work. It's not that deep.
Yeah, afu najichosha mwenyewe.
Exactly. And it's very exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Creative work is very exhausting without you having to carry the baggage that comes with it, you know?
Wimbo wangu, was that the first release?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that the first song?
Yeah. I mean, so we had made a couple of songs and interestingly, we wanted a song ambayo it wouldn't be the best of a bunch that we had, lakini pia it wouldn't be like something that you wouldn't be proud of.
It's a good teaser.
Yeah, it was a good teaser. So we're like, this works. And by that time, we had already recorded Free Soul and we had already recorded Nyakati and we had like a bunch of songs and we were like, oh, this is a nice like teaser. It can give the people an idea of what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
And it was one of the easiest songs we ever made, you know? So it just felt like a nice, easy song to do.
Was the reception what you predicted it to be?
No, I really didn't think people would remember it.
I
know, and I was so young. I know. It was just, it was weird hearing it over the phone, over the radio for the first time. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm on the radio. I was like, what? That's you? I was like, Annie. Yeah, I mean, memories, huh?
Memories. Grace, what was it like growing up for you? Was it like, paint me a picture of if it was a kitchen, paint me a picture of vile viungo, vile ambavyo vilitumika mpaka Grace amekuwa Grace leo.
So, I grew up in a very extended family. With my mom's family was not a very big family.
Okay.
And I grew up with my mom's side of the family.
Okay.
So it was very extended. It wasn't a lot of people, but we were very close together. So my mom had like 3 siblings.
Okay.
But they were so close and their kids were so close. It felt like it was like 100 people at once. And you would live at your auntie's house and you would live at your uncle's house. And you were very close with your cousins. And all the Christmases you spent in one house. So it's a small but very close, extended family. It was a very happy childhood, I think. Yeah. Some of the best memories I have are from my childhood. And I'm not sure it's because I wasn't paying any rent or any bills, or it was because it was a very happy childhood. I was like, I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind yet. But it was some very good memories.
Was it both mom and dad?
No. But it was still very fun and it was very safe. I don't know why I keep saying that. I think the older I got, I realized that, so, you know, when you're a child and there's certain things that are missing from your life and you're always fantasizing about them and you're like, I wish my life was like this, you know? But then you grow older and you realize, oh my God, the things that I didn't have were very small things compared to the things that other people didn't have, you know? And it is quite funny because I never really looked at it when I was, even in my 20s, I didn't really, if you had asked me how my childhood was in my 20s, I probably would have said something different.
Right.
But with age comes a very different perspective, and you learn to deeply appreciate the small stuff you didn't have, and you really appreciate how small they were compared to other things that people had. But now that they're older, when you speak to them, they were, yani walikuwa na miss vitu vikubwa kuliko wewe, and you feel like you're the lucky one, you know?
But it's just human. We do tend to focus on the wrong things.
Me too.
Yeah.
I do.
Sometimes. I think it's a human thing.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. If you were to shoot a movie about yourself, what would the title be?
Oh my God. I was going to say the first thing that came to my head.
What's the first thing that came to your head?
It's going to be really bad though.
How bad in which way?
The Young and the Reckless.
The Young and the Reckless.
It just came to me.
Why? That's not a bad title though.
I know, but like...
Wouldn't you want to watch a movie about it, The Young and the Reckless?
I would, but I'm not sure if I would make
It's better than Young and Famous.
Okay, so this morning... Oh no, that was shade. Oh, that was shade. Wow. You're quick with it too. So this morning I had a very weird conversation with myself as well. Why did you ask me that question? So I had a very funny conversation with myself this morning because I have conversations with myself and I'm not crazy. I just love talking to myself.
Okay. Is it in your head or in front of a mirror?
In my head.
Okay.
That would just be weird.
Okay. I do it in front of a mirror.
Oh my God, that's weird. So I was thinking, if I were to talk to my kids and I would tell them about my youth and my younger days, what would I tell them? And I kept saying, am I going to tell them about my youth or like all of it? Or am I going to take out like the midlife crisis? Like, do you do that? Like, what
are you asking me?
Exactly. Like
I don't take out the midlife
you
crisis.
Put it in there?
Yeah, I think that's what makes the story real.
It was rough.
Kwa na uhalisia fulani. Lakini pia inaweza kusaidia wakati wewe unamwambia hiyo story kujitambua kitu fulani kuhusu wewe na yeye pia kuelewa kitu fulani kuhusu mshua.
But you know what I liked about it is like for the first time I am able to separate my youth from my midlife crisis, because sometimes it's so like twisted up in there and you feel like it was all one part.
But Grace, aren't you supposed to be having the midlife crisis now?
I grew up too fast.
Okay. So, Young and Reckless. Why? Why that title? Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.
I've always been the odd one out in my family. Like, my family are very responsible people.
Okay.
Yeah, they're overachievers and very sensible people. And we don't have creatives in my family.
Kabisa.
No.
Babu, bibi,
my bibi loved to sing, but she was a choir. She was a church singer.
Okay.
And we do this very weird thing. My family, whenever we would gather, hata kama ni watu watano, at some point, it would just randomly break out into a song. It's very weird. Like, especially after the alcohol, like you just start singing. And the funniest thing is my earliest memories of that. So I was very, very young. And my moms and my uncles would be sitting in somewhere on a just, over Christmas festivities. And they just break out in a song. So it's been very usual in my family. But the moment you say, Mom, I want to be a musician, that's when the trouble starts.
Kama you're taking it too seriously.
Exactly. It's not that deep.
Yeah. Pia unajua ni paka hivi karibuni there's some careers kitanzania unaweza kusema it's a career.
Yeah.
Like being a football player, being a musician.
My mom still sends me work ads.
Sindio? See, umesoma sasa. Sindio, this is the whole point. Unajua?
It's like, I took you to school.
Yeah. And this is not really a job. Are you done with the hobby yet? Yeah. Okay. You feel like you were reckless though?
Yeah.
How so? In a young way or in a reckless way?
In a young way.
Okay.
And I think it's very important. Actually, the reason I was having that conversation with myself today is because I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
I know, they're about to be teenagers. And and they're getting to that age where you actually have, like, you need to have reason to why you're telling them.
You can't just tell them.
Yeah, you can't tell them because I said so. Like, you get to that age and it has to make sense. And they would ask you life questions. They no longer ask you, like, how do you, like, spell this? They ask you, like, Mom, is it okay to get a boyfriend? And at what age,
What's the answer to that?
I don't have one yet.
Never.
Because their dad
Boys
was
are
like...
bad. I'm kidding.
The dad was like, when you are married? I was like, how does that work?
You get the boyfriend when you're married.
I know. I was like, how does that work? It's like they'll go on a date when they're married,
Yeah.
But so I think you get to that age and you're like, was it all bad or was it all just young and experimental and human? Yeah, I really try to separate those. Those chapters, you're not very, they say in your life book, there are a couple, everybody has a life book, and there are a couple chapters you read out very loud and proudly, and there are chapters you read out, you can't even read them out proud.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time, unfortunately, when we look back, it's really easy to see only those parts which you're not very proud of. And like you say, we always... Exactly, we're always stuck on the negative.
Yeah.
So when I say young and reckless, it wasn't like bad reckless. It was very human. It was very humbling, if I can say.
It sounds like you've forgiven yourself.
I have, and it's a beautiful space to be. I think there's like it's like a rite of passage.
Right.
You are young and you are very idealistic about life and what is allowed.
I was supposed to be retired by now.
Oh my God. Like, what kind of, like, come on.
I don't know.
What?
I was supposed to be married at like 21.
Why?
I was in a hurry.
I was in a hurry too.
I was in a hurry, and then I was in a hurry for not even young things. I was just like,
Really?
Yeah.
That must have been hard. Like, I was in a hurry in the sense that I did a couple of stuff that I wasn't ready for. And it made life a bit more challenging than maybe it could have been if I had waited a bit, but not less rewarding.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you only see that it's not less rewarding in hindsight. When it's happening, you being reckless. But in hindsight, you're like, oh, I was responsibly reckless. At least I'm still alive, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, if I were to make a movie, I'm not sure if I'm going to include all of it. But I really hope the movie is made about how human I realized I was. Like, I really want the movie ending and the life lesson to get from it is how human I am and how human I'm willing to see myself. Because, you know, this is, and I actually came to realize this. Have you noticed it is sometimes way easier to forgive people for what they've done to you than it is to let go of the things that you are not proud of, you know, that you did to yourself.
Yeah.
Or the things that you allowed yourself to be put through.
Yeah.
Or the things that you allow people, you know,
yeah.
You create a space for in your life, which they were not necessarily like the best for you.
Yeah.
It's easier for people when the people come and they say, you know, I'm sorry. Or maybe sometimes they don't even apologize. There's no closure from that. It's easier for you to like forget those people than it is for you to let go of those
Because you can forget the people, you can't forget yourself.
Yeah, and you spend a lot of time with yourself than any other person. I randomly remember some very embarrassing things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I cringe.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about, like, for instance, meeting people and vibing and, you know, you're connecting values and energy, ni muhimu. Like, in the context of being human and living life, right? And being young and reckless. Like, probably everybody, though. I mean, maybe there's a few exceptions out there. I'm sure there's a few exceptions out there, but most of us.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I always say, get it out of the way. Like, have your midlife crisis before you are 30.
Okay. Have your midlife crisis before you're 30.
Live the rest of your life, like, proudly. You know?
Toshamba.
Yeah, you know, Toshamba. Do those stuff, you know? At least you can say I was young.
Yeah.
Like, what can you say when you're 40?
Well, at 40, you're really reckless, you know? Umezingua. So, when you are in the process of discovery and having the midlife crisis and growing up and adulting and career and work and money and responsibilities and society looking at you, often we find ourselves facing some kind of setback. And sometimes that is the trigger to some kind of, to you feeling some type of way about yourself and who you are.
Yeah.
Can you share a moment when you kind of had to overcome some not so positive thoughts about who you are?
You know, I wish somebody had told me earlier that you need to really watch how you treat yourself. Because I think there's so many lessons that they will teach you about how to behave in public and, you know, like ustaarabu. Kibongo bongo tunayole mambo ya ustaarabu. And I have two kids and I'm teaching them how to, you know, behave in public and what to say and what not to say and, you know, etiquette. Girls, huh? And it's kind of funny because now this is something I'm telling myself. I've never taught them how to talk to themselves. I've never really taught them how to have a relationship with themselves. I've never really taught them I've never really asked them how they see themselves. And I think of all the things that we really need to learn as individuals is that because we learn that very late. And oftentimes you learn that after struggling with a lot of stuff. Being a creative, the work that you do and the stuff that you put out there is very much a part of you. And when sometimes the stuff that you wanted to do, the stuff that you're doing doesn't turn out the way that you were expecting, your identity is really mixed up in all of it, you know? Like
because it's not like a business.
It's not like your business failed. No, people go bankrupt and they're like, you know, we'll start another business. But when you are the business, when you are the product, when you are
you're the voice, you're the brand.
Exactly. It's even more personal. It's not like the business failed. It's I failed. And if you are not careful of how you talk to yourself and how you see yourself and how you take care of yourself. It consumes you. I don't have one story or two stories.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have so many stories of that happening. And unfortunately, it takes sometimes to going to very dark places for you to kind of like step out of it and say, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm me. Come on. Like, it's you. You like, come on.
Yeah.
You know? I wish I knew how to do that earlier, before that. And sometimes you waste so much time in those spaces because you forget.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you have to tell yourself, oh my God, I did this and I did this at a time about maybe I didn't have all the resources that I have right now or all the knowledge that I have right now.
Yeah.
But you just spent 6 months kicking yourself, you know, because something didn't come out the way that you expected it to.
So how did you learn? Did you have someone else help?
No, and that's the thing. Like, trust me, nobody comes to save you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's very true.
Nobody comes to save you. You either get to a point where you just have to be like,
You sink or swim.
Yeah, you sink or you swim, and you realize that it's life, and life is not easy. And you know, I love when we were talking about the tree example.
Yeah,
I love that you can kind of like come to realize that sometimes it's probably got nothing to do with you and things going wrong. It's just the season.
Yeah.
If it's the season to shed the leaves, you're going to shave those leaves. You shed those leaves, whether...
You said shave those leaves.
You should shave them. You're going to shave them, right. You know?
Yeah.
So you kind of like learn that there are seasons and you need to have enough, how do you call it? Self-sustaining strength to get you through the seasons.
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, if it's fall and you lose all your leaves and you want to spend a spring just crying about all the leaves you left in the fall and you're not getting ready for, you know, new leaves, you know, getting whatever you need to prepare for the next season.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're dead.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck in the past.
Yeah, because if you're not gonna grow new leaves, if you're not gonna grow new connections, if you're not gonna grow get knowledge. The last really, really low that I had, it took me to another job, and then it took me back to school. And like
was it like a musical job or like a
job? The thing about me, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I would do I've done everything. I've done shipping. I've done shipping.
Mm-hmm.
I've done marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I've done PR.
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything. I've paid the bills, basically.
Amen.
You know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have plans of, you know, the stuff that you want to do and it doesn't work and you think it's never going to work. But it's not like it's never going to work.
Yeah.
It's not the season. That season is not going to take you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
You need to get through that season so that you can prepare and you can get ready for the other season. I am so glad. For the first time, I feel like I have handled a bad situation and I've turned it around and I've handled it completely different.
Wow.
Because I felt like it was an endless cycle of self-sabotage. When you are unable to learn to go through different seasons, especially difficult seasons, you become one of those people who never really do anything.
Yeah.
You become one of those people who are always leaving things kati-kati.
Yeah. You have a lot of unfinished things.
Exactly, because
too early.
Yeah, at the first sign of trouble, you run, you fold, you know, and
then there's also an interesting side where, because you're so used to it not working out, or at least you tell yourself that when it does work out, you self-sabotage.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you know, it's quite interesting that people say that word a lot. Self-sabotage. I think everybody knows what it means, but you never really realize that you're going through it.
Yeah, until after.
Until somebody points it out. Oh, yeah. Like you never really realize. Like I had a friend of mine tell me once, like, you're doing it again. Like, you've been here before and you're doing exactly what you did 4 times. Yani ilitokea mara kwanza, you did this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And we had a very interesting conversation that day, and we talked about, there's a very nice saying that we love using. You know that saying that doing the same thing over and over again,
expecting different results.
It's the very definition of insanity. And it was like, if you are going to repeat the same cycle, you're always going to get the same results.
Yeah.
And if you don't change the way you handle things when shit goes to shit, shit is always going to be going to shit.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come save you.
Yeah.
But you have to get to a point you realize every season it's not going to be the same if you don't learn how to pull yourself from dark places, from places you never really expected to go. You're going to get stuck there.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned friends. Friends, if you get good friends, keep them. Yeah, because they're hard to find.
You should keep the bad ones too.
You should keep the bad ones too. I mean, although
they're the best ones. Yeah.
I actually have people in my life that I keep close, so that when they give me advice, I know what
not to do.
Yeah. Like if he thinks it's a bad idea, it's probably a really good idea.
Yeah.
I really love those people too.
I've learned to have people who don't necessarily agree with me all the time. And I've learned to have, so, you have different kind of friends, right?
Yeah.
There are the friends you call when you want to go out and have a good time. There are the friends you call when you need to sit down and think. Even if you're not talking, just you sit over there and I sit over here and we're in the same space and I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And some friends you call to rant. You have friends for everything.
Yeah.
But I think
and you have friends for bad advice.
You have to have one of those people. When you take them a bad idea, they'll be like, "That's a bad idea, but let's do it anyway." Exactly what you're gonna get from a certain friend. Yeah. And I've had friends that we don't necessarily speak.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Yeah.
Like sometimes tunaweza tusiongee for months. But if I have a big life decision to make, yes,
yeah.
I call them, and because they have so much, they've seen me through so many seasons.
Yeah.
If they tell me, Grace, you're like, okay, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are very, very important to have.
What do you think is the best advice you've ever been given?
It will make sense when you have children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Grace, mi nadhani una bahati sana. Bahati ya kuweza kuwa one, to grow up in an environment that was loving and where you felt safe. Feeling safe is bigger than actually being safe.
Yeah.
I think Fiona Bahati, that you've had a midlife crisis before your 30s. I'm like, what? Okay, good for you.
Yeah, you can blame it on youth.
Yeah, and you can blame it on youth. Unajua nilikuwa mtoto. Ujana. So ukifanya sasa hivi unakuwa kidogo unazingua namna fulani hivi.
Sure unazingua.
Yeah. I think you're also lucky to have had the chance to pursue a career that you love and pursue careers that you don't have to love to pursue it.
Yeah.
I think zote is only blessings. I'd like to know a little bit more about the experience. What was it like? One, what was it like getting in and out of music? And were there times when you balanced both, or was it tricky to balance both? Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.
So, I was very lucky indeed. Nilipata bahati ya kuanza mziki nikiwa mdogo sana. But I was lucky kupata watu ambao walikuwa wanaweza kunisaidia kukua na
kimuziki au kiujumla?
Both. I think unajua mtu ambaye amefanya A&R atakwambia how when you are growing a talent, how grow to just the talent. You have to grow the person. Now, you look at even these child stars duniani.
Yeah.
When one is missing from the other, the talent never really goes very far. But when you get artists ambao walianza wakiwa wadogo, but then wakawa nurtured in such a way as they can, you know, they're wanakuzwa kama individuals, wanakuzwa kama artists, they go far zaidi. Hata zile crash zao waga, you know, they wanakuwa long-term musicians. And I was so lucky to have those people when I started music. They actually nurtured me in such a way by the time ninaenda kuwa mwenyewe outside of their setup, niliweza kujua what I wanted, niliweza kuendelea mwenyewe as a self-managed artist, and niliweza kuselect a team ambao pia niliweza kufanya nao mbele. They helped me have a personal vision ambao ilisaidia kufanya kazi zangu even when they were not around.
Right.
The foundation was good. Also, I was very lucky to have like-minded people along the way, ambao they were willing to explore things with me as well. That was an amazing thing to do. What was the question?
How did you balance?
How did I balance?
Yeah.
So the balancing was a bit hard because when I started doing music, I started before sijaenda chuo, before university.
Chuo umesoma nini?
This is going to sound very weird. Taxation. I have a bachelor's degree in taxation. Yeah, that's how I ended up in shipping. And logistics.
Makes a lot of sense.
I know.
Yeah.
So by the time I was going to college, I was very conflicted because I had already started making music, but then my family wanted me to get an actual, like a real career and a real job.
Yeah.
So when I didn't have a choice ya kwenda pursue any creative course wakati naenda college.
Yeah. But there's options hapa. Ni chache,
but you know, like it all worked out for the best because having I'm not gonna lie, trust me, your parents are right. Get that degree.
Yeah,
it's not gonna hurt you. Yani, trust me, it's not gonna hurt you na haujachelewa popote. The industry is gonna be here. It's here now. It's gonna be here when you're done with college. It's gonna be here after you are done with the industry. I think unfortunately, knowing the industry that we're working in, it's very good to leverage every single talent and every single ability you have because it's always a balancing act.
Yeah.
I've had, when I started at Nilivomaiza Chuo, I was doing music. But then afterwards, I got a full-time job. In the past 10 years, I've had 3-4 years of full-time work and music. In the 10 years, I've worked in so many spaces and I've had to balance. And I've had to balance my personal life and my two very different, you know, career paths.
Yeah.
And at some point, for me, the end game was always create one, like leverage both, but pick one lane at some point and weka nguvu zako hapo. But the first few years, don't let anybody shame you from having a day job. Go to your office, put on that tie, vai vile high heels, do what you need to do to get the bills paid. Because the other thing is, nobody's going to tell you this. It's not easy to make music. It's not cheap to make music. It's not cheap to have a brand. It's if you can't make a business that supports your brand as you are building it, get a job. There's no shame in it.
And this is not music, it's art. Creative in general.
Yes.
And it could be music, it could be design.
Yep.
It could be fine art, it could be photography, videography. Yep. It's not easy to create and live off only your creations. So if you can do it, well and good. If you can't do it, maybe it's just a matter of time. Maybe you're not there yet. You've been a fasting. And I think also having at some point have a plan. Don't be one of those people that I'm going to quit my job tomorrow because I have
like I've written this amazing song and it's gonna go out there and become the biggest song ever made in the world.
So you've never quit?
I have. But that's why I'm saying not to do it.
Yes.
It wasn't really pretty. It was very bad.
Yeah.
I don't like being broke.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody likes being broke. Sasa, when you think about music, the ecosystem that we have, you don't really make money from selling music. You make money from gigs.
Yeah.
Right? Gigs, and then if you have a brand, endorsements and squeeze influencer marketing. But to a large degree, gigs.
Yeah.
And most of us who are friends with you, we know you, we love you, we love the music. Tunakujua kama mtu fulani ambaye anacheza muziki wa live vizuri sana. And there was a particular point in time where it was quite evident that, hey, you can book her for gigs, but even if you don't, she's got gigs.
Yeah.
Because it was looking as if you were opening doors for yourself.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. It has these ups and downs.
It does.
Yeah. One of the ups that I remember was, unajua bwana, Sanaa ina kazi sana. Kwa sababu,
I love this part of the conversation because we've both been through it. Like, there's no lies here.
Kila kitu kinapanda bei, kasoro kiingilio. Yani kiingilio kipanda bei. Yani, it's so hard to kupandisha bei kiingilio.
God forbid uongeze bei.
Yani, chumvi imepanda bei, mafuta imepanda bei, nini. Like,
but it's still 10,000 to come see you.
Then and now. Sasa bora hata 10,000 mzee mjini huku Dar es Salaam kama Arusha mzee. Yani kwanza ni 5,000 unamshikaje na bageni pale kitini. Sasa chali yangu inakwaje sasa nikikupa.
I'm not going to say anything against my people from Arusha because I love them and I go there every December. Even though that you don't invite me, I just act like a chaga and I go there in December.
Ila Grace, bwana, kuna kitu fani ulikipatia where one, you are able to charge much higher than what most people are willing to pay for, and they were paying for it.
Yeah.
How?
I think what happened is exactly what you said. You create a tribe of like-minded individuals who believe in creating a space for like-minded individuals. And with that, you don't really need much, you know. When we were putting together that event, coffee house sessions, when we were putting together coffee house sessions, the idea was very simple. Have a live music platform where people can come, sit, eat, and enjoy a good live show.
Right.
See the acts that they would not be able to see anywhere else.
Right.
Hear music they would not be able to hear any other person, any other place, and from any other person as well.
Yeah.
And once that idea was there, it's very funny. Like you think, if I nikifungua kitu flani, I'm not gonna find, nobody wants to buy this. But I'm telling you, there's like 100 people who are thinking of where they can buy what you're thinking of selling.
Right.
And if you are able to build a community of those 100 people to support your business, and boy, where you are probably telling yourself it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
That's it.
So how do you build a community?
You need time and you need consistency. Those are the two things you can't beat. You can't buy and you can't build overnight. And I think I learned that format from other people as well. I've seen platforms that I love from other places. Ambazo, they started from 50 people. 50 people would come. I remember the first event we did, coffee house sessions, we had literally 50 people. And I'm not even joking. We had 70 people come. We sold 50 tickets.
Good for you. You sold 50 tickets out of 70?
Yo.
Usually it's like 50 tickets out of 50, but good for you.
We did that. And I remember the lady who owned the venue back then. Her name was Carrie. She's an amazing lady.
Yes.
I went to her one day and with one of my friends and I say, I love your space. We want to we want to create an event, a very intimate event where people can come and eat and talk and just, enjoy good live music. And she was like, what? Yeah, sure. Come, let's see how it works. The first time we did it, she was like, oh, it's perfect. People love it. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
So we did the first one there and then we did a couple more there. Mwaka ukaisha.
Yeah.
By the time we're coming for the second year, we are having 100 and 50 people come through. By the time we are like 3 years, we're having 250 people. The last session we had like 300 people at a different venue, a bigger venue. So like I'm saying, it's not like if you are able to start, if you have an idea and you are able to find one like-minded person who can support what you want to do and who has a similar philosophy behind what they want to do, it's going to work. You know, you're going to build up a tribe over time. 50 people brought 50 more people. And after a time, well, 50 now and later, 50 other people. By the time nafika miaka mitatu, you're having 200 people. And I've seen that work as a model for other platforms. And I've also seen events ambazo zinaanza very strong. Inapigwa ya kwanza. Ay, yani panajaa vumbi, yani patashika nguo kushanika. And they put in a lot of investment. But because they don't have a core audience, yani those people who will show up with the loyal fan base, and if you don't do an event, they'll say, sasa tutafanya nini leo? We don't have a place to go.
They don't have a tribe.
Yeah, they don't have. If you don't have a tribe, ile event over time, the value inaenda chini, not high. So, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's the nature of the city we live in or it's just human nature in general. Kidada venues, and I have observed that kwenye venue, there'll be a new venue, ita hit. Watu watakuja, watu watakunywa, watu watafanya nini. After a time, it goes out of fashion. So they go to another place. It's very few places ambazo they've been there for years and they have a loyal following wanaendelea. And those are the ones which always survives. Wale wengine wote wanakuja and they go out and that's basically the model. Have very few dedicated people who hata kama you haven't done it for like 2 years. Kesho ukisema nafanya, those 50 people will still come and they'll bring 50 more people.
It's very interesting, Grace. So, because you're talking about, one, tribes, which technically is building like a brand, but also building brand loyalty, and using the brand loyalty to leverage brand equity so you can build that. And usually that's a combination of many different things. And there's a role that you have to play. And so I'd like, on that same train of thought, I'd like us to move to a segment in our show that we call Njia Boxy. And basically, on that same train of thought, I want us to talk about taking something to market. More specifically, taking a creative project to market. Could be music. I find I feel like creative projects is in a similarity sana. In terms of the process it takes to create, and refine and fine-tune, and the self-doubt associated with the creation until that's why there's a lot more work in studios, quote unquote, than there are in the market. Lakini pia kuna namna fulani, kuna vitu ambavyo vinaonekana kama vikifanywa au vikipangwa hivi, vinaingia sokoni vizuri na vinaishi muda mrefu. Au vinaingia sokoni vizuri lakini haviishi. Au vinaingia and nobody knew except you and your 5 closest friends. As somebody who's put out music, put out content, done marketing and PR gigs, and put together events. Hebu tuambie, kwa soko la hapa, wewe kama msanii au unafanya kazi fulani ya sanaa, what do you need to think about when you're thinking about taking a project to market?
Okay, I've learned you don't necessarily have to be very clear in terms of what the end project is gonna be. Have an idea, refine it as you go. I think one of the biggest problems we face as creatives is we want to go with a perfect idea. I learned from a friend of mine, he started doing, he started a platform. It was an amazing idea years ago. And over the years, that idea has imekuja evolved into being even a better idea. But one thing I learned from him is how much he was willing to push it forward, even though an idea, and he thinks it's a great idea, it's not finished, but it has potential. So he goes forward with it. He does it. And then he says, if it doesn't work, we will fix it. Na ikifika mahali, we understand kwamba it doesn't work completely. We will just, say, you know what, that was a good learning experience and let's nini. And what he started with and what he has now, unaweza ukasema there are two different things. But devolved. They never, anakwambia me idea I got when that didn't work. Like, tulivyoanza na hii, he came up with a very interesting idea. I can't name it because now you're going to know who it is.
Okay.
But he came up with a very interesting idea. Yeah, I will. Okay. I will. We've spoken about him today, by the way.
I'll put it in the description.
So the idea that he started with before, it was a good idea, but it didn't really work because of the market we were in.
Okay.
Akaenda, akaijaribu, akagundua, it's not really working the way, yani the mazingira hayaruhusu, or hatujafika kwenye ile space ambayo iki kitu kinaweza work for our market. So it's not a bad idea, but it's not the time for it, or bado hatuna the infrastructure for it. So he just kept, wakaendelea kuboresha, wakabadilisha, jaribu vitu vingine. And now he has one of the best products, I think, is one of the best products ambazo zipo kwenye mambo ya tech.
Okay.
So for me, what I learned through the process is just come up with an idea. You don't have to make sure it's perfect moja kwa moja. Test it out. Better, wanasema fail fast, fail forward.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, chuck it haraka. Because we sometimes agonize over things ambazo you're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Now, kazi nyingi ziko studio kuliko zizopo mtaani because we all have an illusion of perfection.
Yeah, and perfect is the enemy of good.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we want things to be perfect, but I think the best things which have bimekuwa even better over time are the ones which started and people were willing to take risks and people were willing to be amateurs.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. I think we live in a social media world where tunadanganyana kwamba everything has to be perfect. It has to look perfect. It has to be nice. And we live in one of those, Barbie worlds. Ambavo, if it doesn't fit in, you don't want to put it out there. But sometimes things are not supposed to fit in. Sometimes things are just supposed to stick out and create their own little branch of other things, Okay.
So have an idea. Don't wait for perfection.
Don't.
Is there anything else?
Throw it out there. Make it better as you go.
Right. So refine it.
Yeah. Yani but do it. That's the thing.
You have to do it.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
Because I've had ideas about what I've been talking about for years. And at this point, I'm no longer even talking about them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to discover anything new by talking about them.
Yes.
I'm going to discover something new by doing.
Yes.
Whether it works or it doesn't work.
And the funny thing with it is when you're thinking about it or talking, somebody else is doing it.
Oh my God, somebody's doing it. And it's kind of funny. I've had so many ideas I had like a few years ago. And then namuna mtu anafanya sasa hivi, I'm like, I had this idea. I was like, oh yeah. 10 people probably had it.
Yeah.
And it's not even about 10 people doing what you're doing. It's about you and what you're putting into what you're doing. We had a conversation today about a certain business that a lot of people are doing and some people wamekuwa wanafanya recently sana.
Yeah.
And I think people started doing that business because it looked like the model was very clear. I think it's a very clear model. And I think the business people really need to be careful with are the ones which look very easy.
Yeah.
And the ones which the model is very clear. The input is this, the output is this. Those are the very dangerous ones because it looks easy, but what people don't understand is the things hapo katikati ambavo they're not covered. They're not covered in the model, And sometimes you understand kwamba it's not kwamba watu 10 wanafanya kwa mimi I can't get in there. No. Watu 10 watafanya, but not all of them, those 10 people have what it takes to get things done.
Right.
So just go out there, do it. If it's for you, it will work. And give it your all. I think the other thing ambacho creatives pia we tend to do, and not by kwamba like sio kwa kupenda.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have been so discouraged uko kwa nyuma. Some things maybe didn't work. Au umeona some other people not, yani vitu havijatokea the way that they were planning. And people tend to half-ass stuff. Like unafanya, but unasikilizia, I've never half-assed something kikaenda mbali.
Yeah.
Only the things that I threw myself in there, whether I knew how to get it done or I didn't know how to get it done.
Everything, you put your all.
But I think I've gotten to a point in my life where if I'm not gonna do it 100%, I'm not gonna do it. Like I don't call me for that. Pick somebody else.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? You know, I'm either doing it kabisa or I'm sleeping at home, like soundly. You know?
Safi. Grace, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for gracing us today.
Thank you very
Mimi
much.
nimepata Msasa. I'm sure our listeners will too.
Mimi pia.
Yeah?
Yeah, do you realize sometimes you understand something better when you talk about it?
Si ndio nilikuwa nakwambia ukiwa unaongea na mtoto mimi nitamchana. Nilikuwa natoka shule kinoma. Yaani Ijumaa Waislamu wanaenda kusali na mimi natoka nao. Tunarudi nao Jumatatu. So Ijumaa hiyo.
But trust me, like that thing I'm telling you, yeah, it makes sense more. Like, especially when you start explaining. And I think your life starts to make sense more when you explain it to other people. And I think that's why people write memoirs, you know?
Yeah.
They want it to make sense.
Yeah. Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.